Welcome to the foothills of the Isle. Here we are at a herd of dinosaurs.
Here we see a black rhinoceros. These animals were thought to be extinct. Turns out there's a decent population of them still on the
This black rhinoceros has joined the rest of the herd and has left the Cenozoic area to see if it can find many different kinds of food. The herd consists of not only dinosaurs, but many other regular animals as well, as here this giraffe. Usually, here in this herd, most of the creatures coexist. So, for example, the giraffe and the Ankylosaurus.
Here we see foothills. These are ankylosaurs, and they seem to be enjoying each other's company. Here we see a ep6, and one is a male, the other is a female. They both seem to be enjoying the other's company as well. That's what they want.
These ep6 are currently expecting to have a newborn, hence with them staying with the rest of the herd.
Other animals are here. These pachyrhinos.
These pachyrhinos are actually the same pachyrhinos we saw a couple episodes ago.
And finally, there's a Badlands painted stegosaurus.
This stegosaurus is from the Badlands, but after getting kicked out of its group for unknown reasons, it has joined this herd. This herd is one of the thousands of herds here on the Isle. Small herds that just roam and hiding in spaces for protection, but also some dinosaurs in this group have a good sense of where there's a lot of good food. For example, these Anchisauruses are able to look out, and these pachyrhinos are able to know where the best food sources are.
Allosaurus.
This acro has walked a very long way in search of a couple of dinosaurs or any other animals it can get its hands on as the days are getting colder. And finally, it has found more than enough to eat.
This herd will provide such a nutritious and perfect dinner for this acro.
The acro decides to stay in one spot, so it doesn't startle any of the herd, and once the perfect moment comes, it will strike. There's only one animal that notices the acro. The giraffe with its long necks managed to look over, and even though the acro is a mile away, it can still spot it. It then runs away. The Ankylosaurus, not seeing the sudden escape of the giraffe, also decides to run for its concerns. While the pachyrhinos grace, though, they also notice the sudden disappearance of the Ankylosaurus and giraffe, so they get ready in case of something's nearby. And so does the Triceratops. They also go ahead and scout the area, getting their horns ready for some other attack. Soon, the Triceratops and the pachyrhinos work together to form a natural barrier within the herd. It becomes almost like a defense, an army kind of defense. The ep6 move in the middle for protection from the acro by going behind the ceratopsians, while the stegosaurus isn't behind. Soon we have a natural defense wall of several different very armed and dangerous dinosaurs.
The uos decide to duck down, as that is the best way, as their skin underneath their shells are very, very weak and flimsy. So if they use that, the acro is now annoyed. He roars in annoyance and decides to strike.
But before the acro can get a hit, it looks around and sees one lone Parasaurolophus standing distant from the herd, easily not knowing what is currently going on. The para gets struck. The para did not have any time to react, and in just a couple seconds, the acro snaps the para's neck. The para is dead. But that's when unfortunate events happen for the acro, and it slips. The acro stumbles and falls into the valley of the foothills. It has no serious injuries, so So it goes back up. But it turns out it's way too hard. And Yakro is not able to get back up the hill. And soon it kept slipping each time.
Now he's even more annoyed.
He roars at the herd and then walks off through the valley.
The giraffe and the anchisaur had watched over what just happened.
Luckily, they were the ones who noticed and alerted the herd. If it weren't for the giraffe mainly, the herd would have been in major danger. There was one loss, but overall, no one else got hurt.
And now, unfortunately for them as well, they have been separated from the herd.
This valley might not seem too intimidating, but for many dinosaurs, it is hard to climb up.
Like these giraffe and anchisaurs. The anchisaur does have stronger legs, but still not strong enough to climb this hill. And the giraffe definitely does not have strong legs.
These two know it's impossible, as if they want to get around the valley of the foothill, they have to travel for a couple miles, and they don't have the energy they need for that. So soon, they decide to stick a duo, each of them helping each other to survive.
And if they were to go down the aisle, or the valley, they would have to deal with someone. The Acrocanthosaurus.
They soon leave off, going to find a new area to settle down. Here we are, still on the foothills. But something incredible has happened. The first bits of snow and frost has appeared on the isle, meaning that winter is coming closer. Most of the grass here on the frost is dead. Here is the Dryptosaurus Paul. He has been roaming the foothills in search of prey, and has stumbled across the frostlands.
You might be asking yourself, why is this Dryptosaurus named Paul? Well, let's say this one likes his cheese very drippy.
So far, today's hunt has been vastly unsuccessful. No prey for miles ahead. The Drypto decides to go to its temporary area and decides to rest until an opportunity comes.
The anchisaur. This dinosaur is looking for these very high tree fibers. These are the tree fibers. They're very nutritious. Now, with the berries gone, these are the only things that they can find.
This fibrous tree is known to be filled with nutrients and can make a herbivore last for several days without food. That's why it's a very popular food among many sauropods here on the isle.
The anchisaur feeds on the fibers.
But this anchisaur is not going to have a very safe meal. The anchisaur continues feeding, unaware of the Dryptosaur nearby. The Dryptosaurus gets closer to the anchi. The anchi continues feeding. The Anchisaurus gets bitten on the leg. The Drypto has gotten the grip. But this Anchisaurus seems to have a lucky day. 2, 1. It's Little Green.
Little Green is attacked though.
But still, he got something a Dryptosaurus can never have. A Thagomizer. He hits the Drypto in the head, with the Killian in the eye. He makes the Drypto wander off. The giraffe just wandered in recently. The giraffe was feeding somewhere else, and so happened to hear the roars and walked over to see what was happening. The Anchisaurus looks over to Little Green, and Little Green looks over to both of the herbivores. It turns out the little greenhouse had his own accident. Due to an unknown virus here on the Isle, his herd was completely decimated, and he has been wandering on his own throughout the Isle. And soon enough, they become an unexpected trio. Here we are in the foothill canyon of the Isle. This canyon is probably one of the largest canyons here in the foothills and a prominent resting area of many herbivores. The bottom canyon used to be a home of a stream, but is now dried up and a very deep valley. Most dinosaurs come here for shade, but other times to feast on a lot of volcanic vegetation. This vegetation is very old vegetation, Triassic, and many herbivores enjoy the taste.
This is a duo of two dinosaurs that primarily eat fish. Here is a Beckelspinax and a Baryonyx.
This Bickle and Barry have formed a symbiotic relationship over the past week. But what happened to the big one's child? Well, the big one's child, after just a couple months, grew way too big for the Beckle, and the Beckle could not feed him anymore. So right now, the Beckle and the Barry have teamed up and help each other hunt. The Beckle decides to lay on the ground and rub itself in to absorb all the heat. As with the winter coming, he needs a proper sunbath. The Barry decides to do the same, also rubbing himself deep in to try to absorb the heat from the ground and from the sky. They both have a relaxing moment. Gallimimus is slowly feeding in the rocks below. While he's feeding, he's unaware that a Beckle is right next to him, and after looking up, the Beckle jumps.
The galley runs down the hill, but the Beckle is close there too. He leaps and brings them both down.
The Beckle slowly falls down, burying himself deep into the rocks, and so does the galley. It also falls down, going deep into the canyon. But before the Beckle can make a final blow, the galley kicks the Beckle away, but not before the Barry comes and makes the killing blow. Both of them together kill the Gallimimus, and finally they have a good enough meal to eat.